Okay, so welcome to today's video. So we are going to look at the nature of space. The nature of space. So one thing I have noticed with when there is a structure that has no boundaries, whatever structure it is that exists that has no boundaries and has water. Okay, it has water, it has no boundary, it has no boundaries, and it has water, tends to have this shape. So everything that has no boundaries and has liquid, it tends to have this shape, this tear shape. Okay. But if it is, sometimes it can be just, can just be a cycle, but usually it's in the form of a tear. Okay. I also notice that no matter where you go to, no matter who is talking, there is always, especially in the scientific community, where there is always the talk of outside space and the the meteorites or the planet systems or the galaxies that they discover. There is always a defense around such things. Okay, for example, a meteorite flying in the space. So so we have this meteorite flying through space, and if you notice at the on the surface, not on the surface, but just after, before you get to the surface, there is this barrier that blocks it, that blocks the stone itself, right? So too is our Earth. Earth has a barrier. So does the sun. The sun has a barrier. All planets have their own one or two barriers that when an outside, um, a foreign object tries to enter, there is always that resistance. Okay, so same thing with the ovaries and the sperm. So everything about the space that we can observe with our eyes, when it comes to something substantial, something valuable that was created not by our own intelligence. So, like for example, the earth is not created by our intelligence. Okay, so it's created by our higher self's intelligence. So whatsoever it is that was created that is alive always comes with boundaries. It always comes with its own boundaries. Okay. So in the human body, our boundaries are the way we feel. Our boundaries are the way we feel about a particular thing. So boundaries does not mean that whatever is being kept outside is bad. It's just it's not good personally for the person. Okay. So as I observe the space, the nature of the space, I realize that everywhere that you look, everything that you interact with has some sort of boundaries. Okay. So they all have their own boundaries. Okay. And these boundaries are where the truth of the nature of space can be understood, because if the space creates boundaries for its with its materials, with the materials present inside of it, if that space is creating that, then it means that it is aware of other things that it has created that might not be good for one thing or the other, or it might not be good for somebody or the other. Okay. So the most the most obvious thing that can be said about the space in your presence is the nature of boundaries. It's the way it creates boundaries for itself. Okay. And so it's easy to demarcate. It's easy to demarcate. It's easy to choose between one thing or the other because of the boundaries that has been created by space or consciousness. Okay. But I keep saying space because I don't want you to um, I want you to remember that there is a phenomenon happening. We are not just it's not a woo-woo talk. It's not a wishing for something to happen talk. There is right now in this present moment a phenomenon happening that is not logical to the mind. It's not logical. Okay? And that phenomenon is the existence of a spatial awareness. There's the there's the existence of something that encompasses every other thing. And that thing, its nature that encompasses every other thing, its nature is silent. And if its nature is silent, then it means that every other thing inside of it has to be silent. And if there are sounds present, then that sound has to be a lie. Those sounds have to be a lie. And upon more deeper introspection or investigation, the truth will come forth. Okay. And the beauty about it is that the deeper you go into trying to figure out why the container itself is silent but the content is noisy, the more you go deeper within yourself in meditation, the more the silence becomes profound. It takes up every space, it takes up everything. Okay. So why am I talking about the boundaries right now? So because if you've noticed that you are moving away from some set of people, moving away from past experiences, relationships, wanting to be alone or in a community of people who understand your language, then it's because of the same idea. Okay? There are a group of people. There are a group of people who started moving from here, but at the time they got here, they started making two different types of choice. They started making two different types of choice. One was born out of survival. So one is born out of survival, fear, separation, and the other one is born out of so why the first one is born out of survival, fear, and separation, the other one is born out of abundance, peace, and then unity. Okay, so this group of people here, everybody is making choices. Everybody is making daily choices on which path they would love to be. Right now, these parts they are still so close together that the group here, the people on this group here can easily switch over to this side, and the ones over here can easily switch to this side. Okay, so at this point, the point where we are, it's still easy for people to move from one side to the other and from one side to the other. But eventually, the gap will get so big that it will be impossible to make such choices again. And so, you either have those who are on this path of survival, fear, and separation, and then you have those who are on the side of abundance, peace, and unity. Okay? So while these choices are happening every day, each and every day, based on what we choose to do with ourselves, with our friends, with our family, with our nation, based on the ideas, imaginary activities, based on our thought processes, based on our emotions, we are making a choice to either move towards this side or move towards this side. Whatever choice that we make would eventually create boundaries. We eventually create a boundary. Okay? Okay. So boundaries is eventually the boundaries are going to be clear as you continue making these choices over here. All right. So it is a very natural phenomenon of space to create boundaries around things that are like similar, so that it can repel whatever it is that is not similar. So it happens in our blood system, in our organs, outside world, in space. It happens everywhere, and so is happening right now in the collective choices that we are making each and every day. Okay, so it is nothing to be worried about. It's just another nature of space. Okay, so I hope this video helps, and I'll see you in the next one.